Good afternoon. My name is Tom Bloom, and 3 hours ago I was fortunate to be elected as president of the County Commission. And on behalf of the members of the Monongalia County Commission, I want to thank everyone for coming to this special event. As I look around the room, I see an eclectic group of community members. We have our politicians, business leaders, police officers, WVU representatives, family members, and most of all, some very excited children who are about to experience an event that we usually take for granted. Today, through Variety, the children's charity My Bike program, and the many sponsors that we have here and supporters who have made this possible, we will provide 10 custom bikes for these extraordinary group of kids. If there is anything that we can learn from today, it is that all children want to be treated the same and not be treated differently. We are changing the lives of a child with a disability today. One bike, one child, one family at a time. And I want to reiterate that because that's the theme of Variety, which is one bike, one child, one family at a time. I do want to thank all the people in this room who made this day possible. And we have a list that went out that we can't say enough. Thank you for your support. I also want to say hello to the 7 children who couldn't make it today due to the weather. And we want you to know that not only are you here and we're going to show your bikes and mention you, but we are planning with the help of West TV over here, we're going to make a CD copy so they can experience what the other 3 children have experienced today. I want to conclude with a question that was asked of me earlier this week. Why is the County Commission involved with this program? The answer to me was very simple. We are here to serve all, I'll say it again, all the constituents and members of our community, and to look at the smiles of the children and the family members' faces is the best gift we could receive. I do appreciate you for attending today. At this time, we're very fortunate. I'd like to introduce Jessica Sell, whose name was Senator Manchin, who's been a part of this and would like to make a statement. Thank you.
Thank you all so much. It's an honor to be here on behalf of U.S. Senator Joe Manchin. This is my 3rd presentation I've been fortunate enough to to be present at, so thank you again so much. And with that, I'll bring greetings on behalf of Senator Manchin. On behalf of the citizens of the Mountain State, and as your United States Senator, it is my great privilege to extend greetings to the members and supporters of Variety. This special program began in Western Pennsylvania in 2012 and now serves 15 Western Pennsylvania counties and 10 counties in West Virginia, including Barber, Doddridge, Harrison, Marion, Marshall, Monongalia, Ohio, Preston, Taylor, and Wetzel. It has provided more than 50 bikes to children in West Virginia since the program started in April of 2014. At the kickoff of this great program, I was honored to attend and present bikes to several remarkable children. I'm proud to see that this program has continued to flourish. Today we celebrate the presentation of 10 bikes, individually altered to fit the needs of each unique child. It is my hope that this outstanding program continues to grow within the great state of West Virginia. I truly thank Variety, the Children's Charity, the Monongalia County Commission, and all those who've dedicated their efforts to making this special event a reality. Please accept my best wishes. With warmest regards, Joe Manchin III. Thank you so much.
Go ahead. We're informal. That's what I like about this county commission.
You know, I was tempted to wear my sneakers today, but after having called him out on the radio yesterday morning, I just want you to see, ladies and gentlemen, see what he's wearing today? Does the county have a mental health benefit in it?
I just want you to know that I think...
Not quite enough for Tom.
I just want you to know I'm making a fashion statement because I watched the Weather Channel today, and the two individuals had a suit on and sneakers. So,
Oh.
so Billy Joel is still alive.
I'm thrilled to be here. My name is Charlie LaValle. There's a misprint on your program. Do you see where it says Chief Executive Officer of Variety? My preference would be Chief Excitement Officer. This is a great day, and I guarantee you, you're going to see a little parade. We don't have all 10 kids here, unfortunately, because of the weather, but we have three very excited kids to ride their bikes today, and you're going to see something that is absolutely fantastic. And we did start in November of 2012 in Western Pennsylvania with the My Bike program. I wasn't really sure if it would work, to be honest. Each bike is $1,800 to sponsor, so it's not inexpensive. It's not like going to your local store and pulling one down off the rack. And I remember when we kicked off in November of 2012, we were hoping to get maybe to 100 by Christmas. Well, we're nearing bike number 1,000 right now since November 5th, 2012, and it's kind of like church. Come on down front, and nice to see you. And so here we are nearing in on bike 1,000. You can do the math, 1,800 times 1,000. You can figure out yourself what that is. It wouldn't have happened without community representatives like we have here today. In particular, we have Nick Casey, and Nick's been a supporter with us from the beginning, and Jennifer Carradine from Jackson Kelly, and their managing partner. Ellen has been a great help to us. Phil Griffith from Steptoe, and Steptoe has been with us from the beginning as well, and Holly Kaufman from First Energy. Holly, thank you so very much for First Energy's support. Russ Lawrence from Arch Coal, and Arch Coal has been so terrific with us as well. So thank you folks. And we have Joe Sipley from Highmark. Highmark has been our wave, so we know. Thank you. Highmark's been one of our founding partners in Western Pennsylvania and a presence down here. I bring you greetings from one of our board members who was really critical to our coming to West Virginia, and his name is Rob Kozel. Rob is the CEO of Mountaineer Keystone, and he really pushed us and made a significant financial commitment to bring us to West Virginia because, interestingly enough, his godmother, his aunt, to whom he was very close, had polio. We forget about this, but she spent the first 5 years of her life in a hospital. 5 years before she came home because of having polio. Obviously, we've come a long way, and if we just looked at what we've done with polio, it should give us hope for what we can do in America for so many things. And so Rob had an idea as an oil and gas company, and he's committed to himself for every well Mountaineer Keystone drills, they're going to sponsor another bike. So I'm here to tell you today we have 3 more bikes committed from Mountaineer Keystone. Keep drilling. That's my motto. Keep drilling. And, obviously, when you think about that, what a cool thing. Wheels and wells for kids. And a fantastic thing. And I think Rob's vision is right. In Western Pennsylvania, we kind of have Highmark Health Insurance, or an integrated health company now, and PNC Bank and Bayer kind of as our drivers, along with a few teams you might have heard of. They wear a little different color, the Penguins, the Pirates, and the Stillers. And, that's the base. But I think what West Virginia can also show is if energy companies take the lead. That's another model as we seek to drive this across the country. And I love Rob's idea, and I hope more of his counterparts will get into it, and because I think that's a whole story and perhaps a national news story in and of itself. I do want to recognize Delegate Barbara Fleischauer. Barbara's been with us from the beginning, and Rob Alsop from the West Virginia University. Rob, thank you for coming. And then the commissioners and the sheriff. We wouldn't be here today without them. And this is a great room, as you're going to see when the parade happens. This is a great room to do this. And I had the opportunity to sit down with Tom, and I appreciate so much his passion and his desire. And what he said about why to do it, because it's about all all constituents, all members, all parts of the society. What happens to our kids a lot, quite frankly, is they get left out, left behind, left on the porch. You know, they're not included. And so let me tell you a little bit about the program. Maybe I could use this picture as a way to help you understand. In Pittsburgh, we have one of the largest Labor Day parades in the country by organized labor. In fact, I was in Hershey yesterday with the leaders of the AFL-CIO, and Kenny Perdue, who couldn't come today, unfortunately, at the last minute, has been involved with us down here too. But so Pittsburgh has a large Labor Day parade, as I was telling you, one of the largest. And I don't know if you can see this picture. I'll show it to our esteemed guests first. Here are our kids riding in the Labor Day parade. And you really have to know him, but Jack Shea is the president of the Allegheny County Labor Council. He has 100,000 members. So it was great to make a partnership with him, because if you think of it, if you've got 100,000 members, you have our kids. Well, you won't really appreciate it because you don't know Jack, but he comes up to me, he's a tough labor leader, and he says to me, "Charlie," this is how it goes, "these kids aren't riding the parade." I said, "Jack, they don't even get invited to the parade, or if they go to the parade, they can't even get close enough to see the parade." He said, "Well, you want to ride in our parade?" I said, "We'd love to ride in the parade." He said, "Well, okay, you can ride in the parade." So, this is a small picture. Now, I'll illustrate it to you, but people don't understand. We get a lot of invitations, but my responsibility is really to the kids and their families first. So I had to ride the ride. You should have seen me in my suit and tie on one of the adaptive bikes riding through downtown Pittsburgh. I did get a lot of looks and comments. I wouldn't say they were all positive looks and comments, but nonetheless I did. And let me just kind of illustrate it through, and let's tell you about Brian. This will help you understand the program. You guys all see Brian? This is boy right here. This is right arm kind of down to the side. Okay. Well, Brian is 9. I don't want to have my back to the commissioners. Brian is, I'll leave this here. He's 9. And when he was just before his first birthday, his seizures were so common, they were so frequent, they had to remove the entire left half of his brain. Now think about that for a second. Just let that sink in for a second. The entire left half of his brain. They didn't know if he would walk or talk. Well, he's walking and talking and riding a bike. So when he was interviewed by one of the news channels at the Labor Day parade, here's what he said. Now get ready for this. It's awesome. He says, "I want to show my ability to the world." Now, isn't that, when you think of what would you would like to give to a child, doesn't it have to be one of them to have that kind of confidence, that kind of excitement? I want to show my ability to the world. And then he continued why it was so important to him to ride in the parade. He said, "Because I want to help other kids get bikes." So first he shows us something about, his joy. Then secondly, he shows us something about service. And then, as only a 9-year-old can say, he turns to me and he goes, "Charlie, you and I are a good team." Well, where can you get that kind of compliment, from a 9-year-old? "Charlie, you and I are a good team, And his right arm does dangle down a little bit, as you see on that picture. But his right hemisphere has taken over so much of the function of the left hemisphere. He's functioning. He's a happy 9-year-old boy who has a lot of courage and a lot of determination. He loves this bike, as it has happened with so many of our other kids. And what we're trying to do at Variety is provide an opportunity so kids can discover their possibilities. Very simple. Provide an opportunity so kids can discover their possibilities. If you don't have a bike, you don't know how it can be. And I personally, I have to tell you, I happen to think it's wrong that every child who can ride an adaptive bike doesn't have one. You ought to be able to have a bike. Okay, if we pause for a second, at the count of 3, shout out the color of your first bike. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Red.
Whoa. How many of you are willing to admit you had a banana seat? Okay, not Betsy. We got a little trouble still going on here with the president. But that's okay.
I did make me in the sequel.
Now think also for one other thing for a moment. I'm sure you remember that first bike. Mine was used. I remember our family was moderate family. I would imagine you remember who you rode with. Brothers, sisters, cousins, best friends. I remember my best friend I'd known since I was 2.
The neighbor calling dog chased me.
The dog. The neighbor's dog. Did it make you ride a little faster?
Yeah, I sure did.
Beautiful.
I climbed mountains and I couldn't climb it when that dog chased me.
You know, for a lot of us, wasn't having a bike just part of childhood? It was a basic part of growing up. And again, our feeling is no child should be left out because they have a disability. That's ridiculous. Quite frankly, it's absurd. So this has been a great opportunity to provide kids and their families with that special opportunity. Look at your program for a second. I'll tell you about these 2 kids to give you a little more perspective. I'll tell you about James, who's waving, who's the happiest kid I know. At school they call him Smiles. James has spina bifida. So when he got the bike, he was unable to walk unaided. And I'll just tell you a couple things about him. Once he got his bike, now think about this for a second. He'd never been able to participate in a relay race at school. Always left out. So when they had the relay race, he had to watch. So his phys ed teacher had the beautiful idea, he would let him participate in the relay race on his bike. And what the school did that was so smart, when they had the relay race, they brought all the kids whose classroom faced the track to the window so they could watch, right? So it was a learning, it was a teaching moment. Because we kept saying all the time, James could never participate in the relay race. James could never participate in the relay race. Well, a phys ed teacher, once he had something, he figured out he could. So I wish you could have seen it. The phys ed teacher, he thinks he's going to record James while he rides. Well, James is so fast, the phys ed teacher, the camera's going like this. If you saw the footage, it's going all over the place. What I loved about it was, James was so fast, all the other kids wanted him to be on their team. You know, so many times what happens for our kids is if we can get them to be included, they're not desired. Well, here they were in, and he was wanted. Then his sister, who's 2 years older, she said to me, and we sometimes forget about the siblings of our kids, she said when James and I rode bikes for the very first time, she said it was the happiest day of my life. And James and I rode bikes together for the first time. Happiest day of my life. And then I probably, of all the conversations, though I've had many with this family, his dad's a union carpenter. The mom, Mary, calls me up one night and says, Charlie, something happened in our family tonight that's never happened before. I said, well, what would that be? She said, you know, he's ridden this bike so much, and we give all the kids, and Jeff is going to show you this in a little bit, we give all the kids a stationary stand so they can ride in the winter, right? And James happens to love Wii baseball. So while he's playing Wii baseball and his guys are running around the bases, what do you think he's doing? Pedaling on the bike. And what's so cool about it is it's therapy and exercise, although most of our parents never mention the dreaded E word, exercise. But the kids love it so much, they don't think of it that way. It's not punishment, right? It's not something you have to do to strengthen your leg muscles. It's something you want to do. So Mary calls me and says, I'm calling to tell you, you know, he's loved this bike so much. The therapists are so pleased with how much he's done it and how his leg muscles are strengthened. She said, I'm calling to tell you he just walked his first 14 unaided steps in life from the living room into our dining room. How about that? And how about how he felt about himself? You can imagine how proud he felt of himself. See, because here's how I think about it. There was a quote I heard many, many years ago when I was working on uninsured kids. I was down in Washington, D.C. one time. And it goes like this. The world will be changed by parents who change it one child at a time. You know, we like to think in many ways the world will be changed by business or the world will be changed by government. The world will be changed by parents who change it one child at a time. And that's really all we're doing at Variety. We're just helping the parents and the families. We're just helpers. But it's the moms and dads, the grandmas and grandpas, the aunts and uncles who are helping give these kids the opportunity to ride and join in, so that when they go on vacation, like a mother was telling me recently, to her whole family, you know, her sisters and brothers and their kids, they all go on vacation together. And her son, they'd be playing together, and she'd think, oh, please, don't go for the bikes. Don't go for the bikes. Because once the kids went for the bikes, right, and rode around the lake, her son, who has cerebral palsy, was left behind. And now she says, go ahead. You want to go for the bikes? Go for the bike, because he can ride with his siblings and his cousins. You know, so what we're doing, I think, we're just helpers. It's the moms and dads and grandmas and grandpas who are really making it for their kids and their grandchildren. So to give you one more feel about the program, think about Emily. This was an experience I did not see coming, quite frankly. We were in the Airport Marriott Hotel in Pittsburgh, and our families came from quite a distance because they have to be trialed on these bikes to make sure they're fit and they have the right, because each bike is tailored, customized for the child, that they have the right accessories and right equipment. And so Jeff, and I'm going to introduce Jeff again, do you remember this one? So Emily, who's 12, and she has Down syndrome, which kids with Down syndrome always, I have my sister-in-law is 46 and she has Down syndrome, and she calls me Charlene. And if she ever stops calling me Charlene, I'm going to be disappointed. I'll go to Charlie. That's her name for me, Charlene, you know. And but in any event, Emily comes, and when they arrive, her mother says to me, Charlie, I'm really not sure why we came. I don't think Emily's going to be able to ride this bike. I said, well, what's the difference? You drove. They drove like 45 minutes to get there. So why don't you get on? So what happens is Emily gets on the bike and she rides it. First time she's ridden a bike. Okay. So what happens is all of a sudden she stops and she looks at her mother and she says, Mom, could we call Dad? Now Jeff and I, we have no idea what's coming next. So, okay, Mom dials the cell phone, gives it to Emily. Emily's sitting on the bike. She's on the bike. And all of a sudden, here's what you hear. Now get ready, because it's like high level. All of a sudden, out of the blue, you know, we're in a hotel, you know. All of a sudden, it goes like this. Dad! I just rode a bike for the very first time. We don't hear what he says. The next thing we hear is, I'm on it right now. Like, in other words, get with it, you know. I'm on it now. And then what was so cool, she lowers her voice and she says, are you proud of me of that? Are you proud of me of that? That was her exact words. And we don't hear what he says again. But as she hands the phone back to her mother, she looks her mom dead in the eyes and she says, with a chuckle, he says he's proud of me. So, you know, this is a bike, but this is so much more than a bike. You know, it's an opportunity for independence. It's an opportunity to discover possibilities. It's an opportunity to ride with your friends. It's an opportunity to feel good about yourself. Things that all of us, if we were honest, want for ourselves. So it's exciting to be here. And what I'm proud to tell you today, where we need your help, and this is really why, you know, in part answering the question Tom was asked, for our 26 counties we have now, 16 in Western Pennsylvania and 10 in West Virginia, we have 250 bikes that are available. So what I say to you today is find those kids. Find those kids. You know, here's a sentence that haunts me from a mother. She said to me, Charlie, how could we apply for something we never knew existed? Now think about that. That's pretty profound. It's simple, but it's profound. How could we apply for something we never knew existed? You can't. It's impossible to apply for something you don't know exists. So what we have to do in West Virginia, you know, is get the word out, like through Arch Coal and First Energy. Now, I remember I had an experience one time. We were working with a lot of hospitals and health systems in Western Pennsylvania, and one hospital system drove the word in their whole county. They were helping us get kids bikes. And a mother came up and said to me, Charlie, can I talk to you for a minute? Her son got a bike, and she was an employee of the health system. And she said, I'm really frustrated. I said, what are you frustrated about? She said, I didn't find out about it from the hospital. I found out about it from the community. And I said, well, could I talk to your CEO? You've already been in the newspaper with me, so they're going to know it's you. She said, sure. And I went to him and I said to him, you know, here's what she said. She would like to have found out about it through you, her employer, not from the county, not from in the community. And he said, you know what? She was right. We should have gone to our own employees first. And I think we forget that sometimes. And I hope those of you in businesses and corporations and in government, you know, would think about how can you get the word out to your own employees? Because it might not be their kids, but it could be a niece or a nephew. We had John Weinstein, who's the treasurer in Allegheny County. John we have a flyer, a one-pager kind of like this. It's on the table when you came in. And he came up to me and he said, Charlie, I'll tell you what I want to do. He said, I want to put my logo on it, Allegheny County, Pittsburgh. And I want to give it to 7,000 employees and 4,000 retirees. I said, John, I'm in love with you. Can we get married? I'm already married, but can I marry you? You know, because it was terrific. He wanted to get the word out. Because here's what happens for our families. Here's what I want you to keep in mind today. So many of our families think this is too good to be true. Like our income guidelines, you can be a family of 4 and make up to $95,400 and still be eligible to get this bike for free. So what happens is a lot of families think it can't happen for them, or there's too much paperwork, or it'll take too long. So the greatest thing you can do for us is to get the word out. Think about your companies and how you could be seen as a caring employer, quite frankly, by informing them. Right? Because it could be a grandson, it could be a daughter, it could be a niece, a nephew, it could be somebody in their church, somebody in their Rotary. So that would be a great help today. Well, I think I've talked long enough. We want to get these kids on the parade. I wanted you to get a feel for the program so you could understand. Because I think what you're going to see, what happened to me is what I didn't anticipate. I was thrilled to do this for the kids, but what I didn't anticipate was their joy changing my life. When you see them on the bikes. And so, but first I want to ask the families, there's no pressure, but would you 3 families who are here today, do you want to share anything about what you hope for or why this is important? It's up to you. You as moms, dads, friends, great-grandmas, whatever, it's up to you. If there's anything you'd like to share to help people understand, you're really...
I'll say something.
Please.
He's 10. He's never rode a bike before. And thanks to Mike from Playworks, that's where he goes every Wednesday. It's his best half an hour of his week. Is getting to ride the bike.
Terrific. We're excited. I was saving Mike, but thank you for recognizing him. The best half hour. Anybody else from the other families, please?
Jane's great-grandson, Jane, he goes to Cornerstone. She told me to talk to him. He's 10, he's never ridden a bike. We've tried. And then last night, it was cold, and I thought, I'm not going to Jane. He said, well, that's up to you, but he said, I've waited a whole year for this to happen. So hopefully this time next year, we'll see longer, 2 of them.
Well, that's pretty. What it does is exemplify the people in our lives, as kids, the people we love, who we know love us. Don't we want them to share? Aren't we all like that? We want to share it. That's the beauty of it. Anybody else? Is there anything you guys would like to add? You don't have to. There's always the no pass rule. What about any of our partners? Mike Lentz just was introduced from Playworks. Mike has helped us find I don't know how many kids now. I just told him on the way in today we had 250, so back to work, right? But we appreciate, Mike, all that you and your team have done. Mike, anything you want to add?
Happy to hear about 250 more bikes. I would actually challenge everybody here because this is kind of an odd presentation today because there's more grown-ups here than there are kids and family members. So I would actually like to challenge people that are here today to go out and find somebody. To really, to make an effort to find somebody or to find somebody who knows somebody, and then give us a call and we'll get us somebody. These are the more kids in these events, the better they are. So that's really what I'd like to challenge everybody here to find somebody.
Well, it does take, what we found out, sometimes you have to hear about it 3 times. You hear about it from your therapist. You might hear about it from an elected official whom you trust. You hear about it from your church, wherever you happen to hear about it, but often you hear about it from another family.
Just to reiterate what I was saying, the first time you tell somebody, they're not going to believe you. That's where knowing somebody that's affiliated with the program, you guys being here today, give the credibility, because from a parent standpoint, they've been told things like this before, and they never work out. That's the biggest thing that's happened. We've been involved with probably 55 of the bikes that have been given out in West Virginia. And I know that probably more than half of those people said, can't be true, is it really true, Mike? Or, our colleagues at Cornerstones. That's where people in the community give it credibility, because Charlie's a great guy, Jeff's a great guy, but they're guys with a big corporation from Pittsburgh. And they're not locals. And they're not people that trust you like your neighbor's gonna trust you, And that's where I think this contingent in here could really help the program, because give the credibility behind, yes, I was there and I saw 10 bikes and I saw 3 kids get bikes. They don't know Charlie, they don't know Jeff, and a lot of them don't know me, but they do know you. So that's where I think the community can really make a big difference in this. This is a small community. This isn't like the guys in Pittsburgh where you have 7,000 people working at the Legion or whatever. Every one of you guys can find somebody. And I think that would be the best thing that can come out of this, besides the 10 guys that are getting bikes today.
Great point. We do have 3, and I can tell you one time in Pittsburgh we did 56 one time in a union hall, and it was total chaos. It was a blast. It was a blast. But Mike's point is a good one. We have to get the word out. We have to get the word out. While I'm at that point, I want to recognize Jeff Rukas and Randy Prunty from Blackburn. Blackburn is our partner, and they're fantastic, terrific. And Josh Austin from Variety in West Virginia. Josh, I know most of you probably all know Josh and the work he's done here. We're so grateful. We wouldn't be here without the work Josh has done. Any of our other partners, anything you wanted to add?
Charlie, we have 2 more legislators. Delegate Amanda Hassan is there in the back, and Senator Kathleen Lenhart is here, and we're glad to have them on board.
Thank you for all coming. Thank you for all coming. I do think we have to remember our elected officials help bring attention and bring credibility to it. It was no mistake that the first call we made, we were going to kick off was to the senators. Because, you need people who are trusted. And that's what's great about being here today. You're making a statement to the community, and hopefully the media will get that out. One of my closest friends was Mr. Rogers, and if Fred were here today, he would say it's a beautiful day in the beautiful day in the Morgantown neighborhood. But Fred always said about the media, they can be a force for good. We don't always perceive it that way, but that's true. Somebody's going to read an article or see a newspaper story or see a television story, and they're going to get a bike because. So, any of you folks who've done so much for the program, Russ, any of you want to add anything?
We're just glad you're in West Virginia.
Yes.
Thank you.
Great to be here. Getting a lot of pressure in Pennsylvania right now, trying to take more counties, but we'll deal with it as we can. Well, let me read the names of the kids, as Tom was saying. Well, maybe Mr. President, you could just say the first names of these kids who could not come, and let's have the president. I'm glad he has to get his glasses. It's just a beautiful thing. Would you, sir, please? So they feel included, as you said.
Okay, first of all, again, we want to thank these students who couldn't be here today, but they will be getting their bikes and video. And that's Zachary, Elias, Ryan, Gracie, Tyler, William, and Chase. And those bikes are sitting back there, and we're going to be bringing them to you.
Thank you very much. Well, at this note, Jeff, could you come up for a moment? Let's come to James's bike, perhaps, and maybe, what we'll do? Let's wheel James in the middle. Okay. Show us about this, how this works, so everybody can see this.
As Charlie mentioned before, Variety provides every child with a stationary stand, which is a wonderful optional accessory. And as he mentioned before, it's as simple as propping up the rear axle of the bike, and the kids can ride the bike throughout the year, cold days like today.
As opposed to some of us who have a treadmill at home and use it for hanging up cleaning. Now, here's something important. Jeff was just wheeling the bike up. So this is the stationary brake right here. Can all you family members in particular see this? So every time your child gets on or off the bike, this brake has to be on. With me? Okay, raise your hand if you're a family member here. Raise your hand. Repeat after me. I promise, and I hear you, that I will always put the brake on when my child is getting on or off the bike. Or else, Charlie in the Valley, will come to my house. Welcome to the My Bike Pledge. The thing is, you thought I was kidding. I might bring Tom Bloom with me, too. Now we're really getting into trouble. Okay. As you can see, each bike is customized. And, for example, James' bike has this steering bar that the parent can steer until he learns to do it. So, you know, our kids are at all different kinds of levels. It doesn't matter where you are. What matters is you have a bike. And the kids picked out their own bike color, which is great. I think that's an important part of the process, that they have some say in it and some control over it. So, Mike, who do you work with who's here? Okay, so Jeff, if you would come up and let's have James come forward. And his family, if you'd like to come up with him. And let's get James all hooked up on his bike. If you could bear with us for a moment, because what Jeff is going to do is he talks to the family. There are some things that are important to know. Well, I'll tell you a little bit while he's talking to them. What would you think when you get on the bike and you sit down? Would you put the seat belt and the trunk support, or would you deal with the feet first? What do you think? Why would you do the seat belt first? Oh, beautiful. You guys, you got a star today. I'm going to whip out some gold stars. The temptation, though, is, I don't know why it is for all of us, we think we should do the feet first. But really, the most important thing is to keep James and all the kids safe. So when you get on the bike, you do the seat belt, then the feet. What about when you're getting off? What do you think?
I do the feet and the seatbelt.
Beautiful!
We practice it.
Beautiful. Mike, maybe you could come over here with Zeke.
Zeke.
And Randy, could you let's post this up a little bit here.
Oh boy, you're gonna get the whole thing.
Oh, let's move him down a little bit. We'll get it in order.
All right.
I'm just going to park you up here a little bit till we get your friends ready, and they're going to follow you. No. Eddie, come on over. Eddie was taking a picture himself. He gave me a good tip, one that I failed on a camera earlier before. He showed me the lens cap, and he said, you know what you need to do before you take a picture? Take the lens cap. I have that picture of it. My wife said, Casey, what is wrong with you? What we try to do with the kids, there's a small, medium, and large bike. So if we can get you in the medium, between the medium and the small, you'll have it longer. Or the large, between the medium and the large. You're seeing three big bikes here today. You know, it is tempting to think you can put right in here and ride, but it won't work. We did have, I was saying to some of the families, we did have one of our kids recently ride with their oxygen tank in the back. So just because you have an oxygen tank doesn't mean you still can't do it. I had a boy who was blind who got a bike. Somebody said to me, why would you give a bike to a boy who's blind? I said, what? He can still ride. He can still feel the wind in his hair, right? His parents guided him. It's fantastic. Why should he be left out? So, Randy, let me know when we're ready. And here's what we'll do. We're going to have Tom lead the parade. If you could come to the front. And then Commissioner, if you could come right here. Commissioner here, Sheriff here. We're going to have you guys be in the parade.
You look good. Do the parade.
I mean, you never thought you'd see these guys in a parade like this.
Go to the crowd.
I'm going to be next to you, KJ.
There you go.
You'll be the lead.
Tell me when you're ready.
Okay,
President, you're going to lead the way, President.
Oh, okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, I give you our kids. We have a parent who wants to go with you. You're taking the picture.
How are you?
I think we'll have to go around 3 times to feel the energy in the room. 3 times.
Where are you at?
Let's go around.
It's not so easy pedaling on carpet. When you see him get outside, it's different. Okay, here's Zeke coming around again. Let's give it up for Zeke. One more time.
One more time?
One more time around. Let us give a big hand.
And then we'll stop here in front of him.
Finish using the right thing.
Yeah, this is the Morgantown 300.
We'll go right over to Charlie.
Right here to me. So, if you found, let's see. One breaker's on. Very good. Wait, stay on the mic for a moment. If you don't mind, we're going to take a picture.
Okay, want me to leave it next?
If you would. Then he says. You can see here's a handbrake. Some of our kids can use the handbrake. Some will grow into it. Josh, how do you want to do the picture?
We're just trying to bring these guys over here and try to squeeze in as best we can.
Bring the bike closer.
Yeah, bring the bikes closer. If we can get our partners here and get the commissioners and get the sheriff in the back here, let's take a group photo.
Group photo.
You got to put the management in there.
Is that Rachel one?
How's the senior senator doing?
Rachel one?
He's a senior.
Commissioner, you?
I can call him junior.
Oh, beautiful.
That's fine. Thanks.
I'm
Fine.
checking.
Get
You
a
might
picture.
have to have remedial work for the commissioner. Before we take this picture, ladies and gentlemen, wouldn't you like to recognize these kids one more time? Beautiful. Beautiful. And we wouldn't want to end today. If you families want to take time to get pictures with your kids, feel free to do it. This day is a marker. I know many of our families like to keep and remember. And Santa was involved, and they're very, very important. So, did we get all the pictures that were needed?
If the family wants to.
Would you like to close us out, Mr. President?
Close us out. Basically, I first want to thank everyone for being here. We could not do it without you. And looking at the 3 individuals who I've challenged now to be down on the rails to trails, that we're going to be able to get them down there and be biking with everyone else. But again, I can't say enough, for the commitment of Variety, my bike, the people who donated, and the people who support, and the family members, and everyone from the people in this room. And you know, a lot of times you hear negative comments about businesses or politicians. Well, this is one day that we can really show why it's important to have good business leaders and good politicians, because this is the end result. Thank you for coming.